Now, learning a language can definitely be overwhelming, but to stop you giving up after just a few weeks, simply look at it as though you're building a puzzle, or Lego if that's your thing, i.e. collecting different words and seeing how they fit together to eventually have you sounding like Antonio Banderas or Salma Hayek. Now, if that sounds good to you, please join me and allow me to introduce you to some useful pieces. Here's a scenario for you. You're traveling around. Perhaps you're in Spain, maybe Colombia, you could even be in your home country. But the key point to this scenario is that you come across a Spanish-speaking person and you think to yourself, I would like to introduce myself to this person. I would like to initiate a conversation. But how? How do I do this? Well, in this video, I'm going to reveal different phrases that you would need. A short introduction of yourself in English would go something along the lines of, Hi, how are you? My name's Salma. I'm from Mexico. I'm 58 years old and I'm an actress. Now, how would we say this in Spanish? Well, I've previously spoken about different ways to greet someone in Spanish, but for this example, we'll just use hello, which is hola. Now, the next part, how are you? In Spanish, this is ¿Cómo estás? ¿Cómo estás? The literal translation, ¿Cómo, how, and estás actually means you are, but as a question, this is are you? ¿Cómo estás? How are you? Another casual way you can ask this is ¿Qué tal? ¿Qué tal? Now, if you wanted to answer this and not just stand in silence, a generic English response, I'm good, thanks, in Spanish would be Estoy bien, gracias. Estoy bien, gracias. Okay, now we have the pleasantries done. How would you start to actually give out details about yourself? i.e., what's your name? Now, in Spanish, there's various ways that you can say this, as there is in English. So let's start with the most common way, which is Me llamo Salma. Or, whatever your name is. Now again, that's me llamo. And the literal translation is I call myself. Now this doesn't sound very natural in English, but in Spanish this is the most common way you would introduce your name. Me llamo Salma. An alternative way to say what your name is or introduce your name would be Mi nombre es. Mi nombre es. And this translates as my name is. Now the final way I'm going to give you to introduce yourself would be a simple soy. Soy. And in Spanish this translates as I am. So you would say Soy Salma Hayek. And if you wanted to ask what the other person's name is, the most casual way to say this in Spanish is ¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas? And although the literal translation is something like how is yourself called and doesn't really make sense in English, it is the most common way to basically say what's your name? ¿Cómo te llamas? Now the next part to your introduction may now be to say where you live or where you're from. And for this we'll use a phrase which includes a word that you've already now seen, and it's soy de. Soy de, which is I am from. So for example, if you're from England, you could say Soy de Inglaterra. Inglaterra, which is England. I'm from England. If you're from the United States, Soy de Estados Unidos. Soy de Estados Unidos. If you're from Germany, Soy de Alemania. Soy de Alemania. Now, perhaps it's the case that you're from a certain country, but you're actually living in a different one. In this case, you would use vivo en, which means I live in. So for example, you could say Soy de Inglaterra, pero vivo en México. I am from England, but I live in Mexico. You can hear that the V in Spanish is pronounced more like a B, vivo. It's not vivo, it's vivo.
Okay, now it doesn't even sound like a real word.
And in order to find out where the other person is from, you would ask, ¿De dónde eres? ¿De dónde eres? And the literal translation of this is, from where are you? which, sounds like it belongs in a Shakespeare play if we say it in English, but in Spanish, this is the most common way to find out where a person is from. ¿De dónde eres? Where are you from? Alternatively, you could ask, where do they live? And for this, you would say, ¿Dónde vives? ¿Dónde vives? Which means, where do you live? Now, I know some people don't like to talk about their age, but someone may ask you how old you are, and this question looks like, ¿Cuántos años tienes? ¿Cuántos años tienes? Which translates as, how many years do you have? But it just means, how old are you? And the way you would respond to this wouldn't be to say, I am X amount of years. It would be to say, I have X amount of years. So for example, if I were 20, I would say, Tengo 20 años. I have 20 years. Tengo 20 años. For the final part of your introduction, you may want to talk a little bit about what you do for a living. Now, the most common way that someone would ask this of you would be, ¿A qué te dedicas? ¿A qué te dedicas? And the literal translation means something like, to what do you dedicate yourself? But this is the most common way to ask the question in Spanish. And in order to respond, you would use or begin with a word that we've already seen twice before now, which is soy. I am, soy. For example, you could say, soy profesor, or soy profesora if you're female. You could say, soy doctor, or soy doctora if you're female. And that's it. You can now introduce yourself to that random Spanish-speaking person you've bumped into. You can ask them how they are, ¿Cómo estás? You can ask them what their name is, ¿Cómo te llamas? You can ask them where they live, ¿De dónde eres? Or ¿Dónde vives? And you can also tell them what your name is. Me llamo. You can also tell them where you live, vivo en, and you can also tell them what you do for a living, soy. And if you wanted to, you can also tell them your age. Tengo 20 años. Well, I hope you found this useful, and if you're interested in adding some more pieces to your Spanish language puzzle, then please like, subscribe, and join me for my next video. Gracias. Ciao for now. Hasta luego.